This is Coach at Unmasked. I'm Madison Hawthorne with Golden Tree Publishing. And you can catch us at goldentreepublishing.com and check out our titles, A10 Unicorn Melee. Newman, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Yes, sir. Chris Newman. I am a little bit of everything, artist, author, hopefully to get published this year. But you can find me on Instagram as of now at Steve Newman 216. That's all about me. Not Madison. Ray.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Raymond Youngblood, aka Ray's Arts. I'm a digital freelance illustrator. You can find me on Instagram at Instagram.com/Rays_Arts, RAIZ_ARTS. You can also find me now on Fiverr.com, Fiverr, FIVER.com/RAIZ_arts. Or you can email me at raise.d.arts@gmail.com for commission requests.
Cool. So I guess anything new you guys seen since the last time we met up? Go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Nah, go ahead, bro.
The thing I think I started watching was Doomsday, like the DC show. CD level characters. It's super weird, man. I forced myself to get through it. It's like a dope concept, man, but it's just some weird stuff, man. Like I don't know if I enjoy it or I don't like to not finish something, so I'm forcing myself to watch it. But yeah, that's all. I was trying to start that Wandavision, but I only seen they had like a couple of episodes out, and I was gonna wait until they had like maybe like 5 or 6 total episodes out to dive into that. But yeah, that's all I've seen, man. And I give that show DC something. I'll give it a C for right now. It's on its way to a D. Hopefully it jumps up to a B. The Doomsday.
Right?
Yeah, I never heard of it.
No.
Well, I did watch WandaVision. WandaVision's dope. It's definitely not it's not action packed. It's definitely super sitcom-y right now. But it's still worth watching in my opinion. I think there's a lot of Easter eggs. And I don't know all the Easter eggs because I didn't read House of M or the WandaVision comic. But from what I'm reading online, we have some really interesting things coming to us this season. I also watched that Transformers series, finally, Madison, because you watched it too, right?
Yeah, the war. Whatever. What's on the war?
War for Cybertron. Yeah. I liked it. I guess like my only thought is I wish I would have been able to see the original war. Because like I know that, this is basically an amalgam of various Transformers series. But because it's an amalgam, I don't know which route they're taking first with this. I do think it's interesting that they included Beast Wars into the story. That was really cool to see. And I do think that I like Megatron as a character in this. This is the most annoying version of Starscream I ever met. But I used to like Starscream when I was a kid. Like, he's always been, dastardly and all, but he was just disgusting to watch. But I'm enjoying it. I can't wait for part 3. And man, Attack on Titan these last couple weeks has been incredible. I am so glad that I didn't let a boring introduction for the final season deter me, because It's great.
Cool. Check that out.
Yeah, like that War for Cybertron. I thought it was okay, but the one thing I'm kind of like you. I went back and tried to watch something that I didn't really watch before. I watched and you talked about this a little bit, the Umbrella Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And I see what you were saying about how like you don't know how they got like the amount of stuff they got from the comics as far as the story. But that was like, I guess that was my issue with the show itself, is that it's like they probably could have just did 6 or 7 episodes for the season. You know, like I feel like there's a lot of repetitive, a ton of flashbacks using the exact same scene from a previous show for like the flashback. It's like, and all this, they just dragging it out. And I felt like there was no character progression, right? Like everybody's the exact same they are at the beginning of the season as they are at the end of the season. Like there's no like growth for anybody.
That changes a bit in season 2. I don't know if you watched season 2 or not.
No, I haven't. I started watching season 2, but I haven't watched it all the way through.
Yeah, that changes a bit in season 2. But I do agree, the status quo is definitely where they ended up at the end of the season for season 1.
Yeah.
You definitely don't want that with your story.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've seen. I started reading the Path of the Assassin, the manga. So we'll see how that goes. But I just picked it up the other day from the comic book store. But that's basically everything I've seen. Anything else you guys want to talk about or add?
Oh, I just started watching Jessica Jones.
Oh, man.
I don't like it.
Okay.
What?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
No, I just... Man, I don't
like season 1?
I don't know, man. That's why I'm finishing it. I'm not jumping to conclusions. I know there's been like 3 seasons, but I'm like 8 episodes in, and I don't know, man. I'm just not feeling it. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going to write a dissertation about it or something. I don't know, man. But I just started watching it because there's like, that was one of the ones that I never watched, like that and like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a couple other things I heard you guys talk about before. So I tried to, watch something that I was familiar with in terms of Marvel.
Oh, man.
Because I haven't jumped on the anime stuff yet, but I'm definitely going to check out that Transformers y'all just mentioned. But yeah, just watching Jessica Jones, man, I'm just like, I don't know, man.
I thought Jessica Jones was okay. I wasn't overly into Jessica Jones. Of the 4 series, I put that at number 3 for the 4 or 5 series, because they did whatever. But yeah, my number 1 is the Punisher. Like the Punisher, that's my favorite. That was really good. And then I had Daredevil at 2, and then Luke Cage, and then Jessica Jones, and then the Karate Dude. That was trash.
He was definitely the weakest. I'm glad that we can at least all admit that. Y'all had me scared for a second.
No. But the Punisher was dope, man. I'm mad at because I know Disney not going to do what they did for the Punisher on Netflix. They're not going to do it like that. That's for sure.
Well, there's a rumor actually going around right now talking about the creation of Disney 18 Plus.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if they do that, that's where they will put like Deadpool and other adult properties. So there could be a chance that he could survive.
I hope, because those were the best ones, man.
Because I know there's already rumors about Daredevil, the Daredevil that we know, being in the new Spider-Man movie. So
Oh. Man, how many characters they gonna have in this movie?
That's what I'm saying. I'm a little worried about it, man, because it just seems like it's going to be really busy. It's a lot of characters to juggle. I said that in a previous episode. Yeah. But yeah, this thing's going to be mad for real. Multiverse of Madness for sure.
Wow. Yeah, that's all. I remember I did start watching that the other day, man. Caught me for about a good. I think I got through 8 episodes. Yeah. I'm gonna keep watching.
You don't like Kilgrave? I think Kilgrave is
great.
Yeah, I think he's a great villain. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know how you can defeat this dude. And I'm gonna tell you why I got mad. Spoiler alert. 3, 2, 1. When they kidnapped him, they had him in that van, and all of a sudden, two tough people. It's like Luke Cage and her couldn't defend like these 6, 7 dudes, and then they got him back after they was gonna put him in the thing. Man, I was just like, man, see, they doing too much. They should have just put him in there. They dudes could have came and got him out. But they just defeated these little superhero people off GP. I was just like, they doing too much, man. There's like 4 times that she could have had him in her clutches, and that she just let him get away. I don't be liking that stuff sometimes. I feel like it's just like repetitive things just to keep the show going. Sometimes I don't like that. I think that's what really got me going. But I don't know, man. Just like little things like that. Like, what is it? Like when people always get captured in every movie. I hate that. Like, I don't know. I just hate like the repetitive things. Like, come on, man. Like, I think once that happened, I jumped up. I was like, man, I gotta pause this for a second and go do something else. That made me mad. I just didn't like that plot point. That's my rant. I'm sorry. I'll be throwing rants out, man. Throwing rants out like I'm published or something. No, but I'm gonna watch it, man. I'm gonna ride it out to the end.
So again, we're here with Tony, and Tony is an attorney at Edmund and Baum in West Virginia. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But again, we wanted to talk about trademark, patent, and copyright. And we just wanted to bring someone that might be able to correct us if we're wrong or something like that. But it's just going at a high level. But I guess the first thing I wanted to bring up was for like trademark, patent, and copyright. Basically, if you're a writer, right, it'd be my understanding you're a writer or a creator, you don't have anything to do with patent, right? That's not going to be applicable to anything with writing unless you like designed a new functional book the way it opens or something like that.
More or less, that's generally correct. And I want to say as close to the outset as I can, and I'll be giving general information, asking questions or answering questions as broad overviews. But then anybody who has more specifics to their particular situation should reach out to a patent attorney for any intellectual property questions and items they might be working on or situations that apply to them. Hopefully what I can do here is just steer people in the right direction if they have someone they want to talk to about whatever specific, I don't want to say problem, but whatever situation they're in. Hopefully I can guide them in the right direction and get them to talk to the right people.
Right. Yeah. That's, so make sure everybody who's going to be listening to this, make sure that you, if you have some more in-depth questions, you can reach out directly to somebody. Like you said, we're just kind of trying to do an overview here. But I guess with that, I would say, Ray, I know you can't talk too much today, but and Newman as well. So let's say if I publish something on Amazon, or Newman does, or Ray or anybody, is that automatically under copyright, or is there another step that someone should take?
Well, in theory, yeah, you've published it at that point. And so you can make a copyright claim that you're likely to win. But in general, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has a copyright process that you can register copyrighted material and try to get beneficially copyrighted. You can get a copyright.gov, and it has all the information for how to do that. So do you need to do that to protect yourself? No, but it's the easiest and most direct route to do so. And it also sets up a timeline for when your work comes out and helps you be the first one in the door. It's not first come, first serve. There's some nuance with that, but the earliest usually has the better foot forward if there comes to be any kind of dispute regarding the particular work in question.
So if you're in there first, you would technically have a better chance against some type of claim or something against your stuff that somebody would try to make. Versus if you didn't do that, then it'd be more of a battle. If, per se, like you said, you might ultimately win it in court, but probably you don't want to even have to take that step, right?
Yeah. You certainly don't want to get there. And while people might take you to court anyway, if you come back and say, hey, I registered this, on the 21st of January, I registered this, and now here we are in August, and you're telling me you came up with this. Well, what did you do with it? Say, well, I wrote it down before that. It's going to be a lot harder to prove than somebody who has, documentation from essentially a neutral third party saying, I registered this for copyright on this particular date. So anybody who has any challenges, where have you been?
Right.
Yeah. That's why I still can't get paid for my original works with those Underworld movies. I wrote it on a comic in my basement years ago.
You said they stuck in your basement and stole your script for Underworld?
I don't know. I was living in the hood there, man. Everyone's breaking in the house.
So when you were 10, they broke in and stole the whole script. They sat on it for another 10 years. But that's also, I guess that kind of confirms it's like exactly what kind of Tony said is if you're serious about something, then it's probably not best to take that extra step to try to actually get it copywritten versus just putting it out there, and you would still technically have the copyright because you published it or you put it out there as a work, and there'll probably be dates on when you did that, but somebody can still go out and see your work and do the same thing. And if you don't have that, it's more of a battle. That's why I swear Taco Bell stole my piggy bank story and made a commercial out of it.
Hey, they ran for the border harder than you did, man.
But I'll never be able to win that battle.
And if you guys don't mind, if I can circle back for a second and sort of go back to the top. So generally when you're talking about the broader category of intellectual property, that's when you're talking about patents, copyrights, trademarks, and service marks. And so I just wanted to briefly go over what each of those, their specific definition is and what it means. So starting with copyrights, it's the right to copy. So it literally means to right to copy, but it's come to mean that the body of exclusive rights granted by law to copyright owners for protection of their work. Copyright protection does not extend to any idea, procedure, process, system, title, principle, or discovery. So one, this definition comes straight from copyright.gov, which is copied from the statute itself. But it refers the things that it does not apply to that I mentioned, patents apply to all that stuff.
Okay.
So, and also in the same category, there's also trademarks. Trademarks are words, phrase, symbol, design that identifies and distinguishes the source of the goods of one party from those of another, whereas a service mark is a word, phrase, symbol, and or design that identifies and distinguishes the source of a service rather than goods. So those are the four general categories: copyrights, trademarks, service marks, and patents. And when it comes to what you guys are talking about in the creative writing space, it's going to be more copyrights, trademarks, and service marks. And again, all those definitions come from either copyright.gov or the USPTO.gov, which is the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So they're the experts on this. It's actually an entirely separate federal court system set up just for patents and trademarks and all intellectual property. So anyway, I wanted to throw that out there so then we can go back to answering your questions just so everybody's on the same page.
Oh, so yeah, that's good. Like I said, go ahead, Ray.
Oh, sorry, Madison. When I was younger, I actually used to believe that I had to get each and every single one of my characters copywritten or trademarked. And I would get discouraged because, like, even for my series Twilight Angel, eventually there's going to be over 70, 80 characters. And so when I heard that, proof of concept is proof of concept, and it's a lot easier now that everything is digital, I kind of felt, that it was no longer necessary for me to go to a court and get that done. But it pretty much, it just solidifies this more protection for you. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not already protected, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And in some instances, you will have to make a business decision about how you want to handle that. But in a vacuum, in a world where time and money is endless, of course, the best way to go is going to be to register everything. But sometimes it's just not practical. In those instances, you have to decide which ones you want to do and which you don't. And also, you can incorporate characters into stories that you copyright. And even though you don't necessarily directly put a trademark or service mark on your characters themselves or any illustrations or depictions of the characters, if you have the story itself, the writing, whether it's a script or an essay or short story, whatever, a novel, whatever the case may be, if that has copyright protection, then you're still in a really good position without having done the extra step with any one given character or group of characters.
Thank you.
So now, if you wanted to sell your stuff, if you wanted to sell, like, say a company wanted to come in and buy it, do you have to get it copywritten before you go into that transaction with them? Do you know?
No, you don't have to. If it's going to depend on the people who want to buy it from you, they want to see how you're situated and how that process will work. Because if they feel like you're well protected, then they'll take on that risk by buying it from you. And either they'll say, well, we're going to do this ourselves, or we think you're in a good spot. We're going to buy what you have, and we're not going to go any further because we think this is defensible. So we're going to take on that risk. So you don't have to do it ahead of time, but whatever party's coming, whether it's a company or individual trying to buy your works, they have to be sufficiently satisfied before they make an offer that they're either well suited where they are, or they're in a position to say, we're going to buy the ability to register this from you as well.
Okay, cool.
And then, of course, there's always a difference between buying things outright and purchasing a license to use something for a specific purpose or over a specific period of time. And all that varies. And I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but, you have a lot of options when it comes to this stuff.
And that's to confirm, I think, because we talked about this a little bit on multiple podcasts. But if you're, say, an artist and you're work for hire, so somebody, let's say, I guess Marvel would be an example. Marvel hires you to work for them, and in the agreement it says they basically own everything you do, but you create a character for them. You basically signed away your rights to any type of ownership of that, correct? If that's already in the stipulations before you started working.
Yeah, if that's what's in your contract, then that's how it's going to be. So a lot of times, even whether it's freelance or you're an actual day-to-day employee, they say we own your work, so your work is our work. So if you've already written a contract saying that, they're going to pay you X amount of dollars for your services, and in return we get to keep the intellectual property rights to all the characters or stories you create, then that's what goes.
And then for like, so after say somebody's published their work, let's say they send it over to get a copyright, they took all those steps, and on every comic book or most books in general, just every novel or something, there's the company that publishes it. So like if you're like me and you're a self-publisher under a publishing name, so like Golden Tree Publishing, there's a logo that goes on every comic. That wouldn't be necessarily part of the copyright, correct? That would be part of it in the trademark.
Yeah, that it's probably the publisher's trademark. Their symbol has been trademarked, and that's separate and apart from the creative work itself. Does that make sense?
Now, let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead if you have finished your thought. I'm sorry.
I'll say, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
That was clear.
Yep.
Okay.
It's clear.
All right. So I'm not sure if this is true. I don't know if you know. Obviously, let me just stop all with the preambles. If you change like someone's work 30%, can you then claim it as yours? Do you know if there's some like legitimacy to that? Like if you change it a certain percent, like I heard, like if you change a textbook like 10%, that's just the pictures. You can make a new edition and then like, resell it. But if you change someone's work as an artist by like a certain amount of percent, can you then claim it? Not yours. I don't know whether it's yours or you can sell it and not like pay them.
Right. I think I know what you're saying. And what I would say about that is first of all, there's no benchmark for that. I mean, you can look into case law and see what applies to any given situation and see if it's enough, but it's probably going to be a I know it when I see it kind of situation. But it's also different for creative works versus academic works.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of times when you're talking about academic books, none of that content is original. I mean, unless you're someone who discovered a new process or, did the research itself, none of what's contained in your, run-of-the-mill 101 textbook is going to be original work. It's the way it's presented that's original, and the way it's arranged that's original. And so when you're talking about a textbook, you could change the way it's arranged, from, Chemistry 101 version 2019, and then so then you do Chemistry 101 version 2021. They can be substantially the same, but have a little bit of difference in the way they're organized and presented, and have two completely different copywritten books.
Right.
Whereas if you're dealing with somebody's artistic endeavor and you're changing a story a little bit, then that's going to be a much different scenario, and you're going to have to take other factors into consideration. You can't go into, let's say, Star Wars and say, well, this guy, this character's name is Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, but I'm calling him Luke Acker, and then everything else is the same. And it's like, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Disney's coming for you.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I know that's an extreme example, but I hope it illustrates the point.
Oh, I get it. I mean, because like you said, there's a whole federal court now just dedicated to that. Man, that's
yeah. Well, it's the United States Patent and Trade Office, which sort of operates like its own little court. That's where all of the trademarks, service marks, copyrights, and patents are put into essentially an archive for people, and that's where they get protected. And it all deals in that office, and they deal with a lot of works across the spectrum of things they do, and they make a lot of decisions. And you actually have to in order to register things on behalf of other people, you have to pass what's called the patent bar, which is specifically for the United States Trademark, for the United States Patent and Trademark Office. You have to pass the patent bar in order to take works on behalf of other people in front of that office. Anyone can take their own works in front of them, and corporate structures, one person in a corporate structure can take somebody else's work who's also in the corporate structure. To take on clients as an attorney, you have to pass the patent bar along with whatever state bar.
Wow.
Got you.
So it makes sense. Well, a lot of people have ideas and think that ideas are theirs. So being able to have that know-how is really important before we get into the courtroom, because it can be tricky.
Yeah, and that's one of the advantages to putting your work out there, to registering it, is if somebody else comes up with the same work, part of the registration process is researching to see if there's anything that's similar or could cause you problems. You know, you may be someone who lives in Pennsylvania and you come up with this, I don't know, particular character and sequence of events, and you think it's novel, but it turns out somebody 10 years ago in California came up with the same thing. And you have no way of interacting with one another. You have no way of knowing that. You know, then you go to register it, and they find this like, hey, this is almost exactly the same as yours. Like, that sucks. Right. I can't copyright it, but it saved me from getting sued.
Right. Or you could.
Now it's only on the federal level.
First, that you didn't copyright it, and the other guy that came up with it 10 years later copyrighted his, and he's going to have claim to it more likely than the other guy. Right? Is that correct?
Well, it's you can still win that. You can still win that in the scenario that you just presented, but it's going to be more difficult. You're going to have a difficult time proving it. And like someone mentioned earlier, it's a little bit easier now with digital platforms because they're usually time-stamped and they're usually saved or otherwise archived on a server somewhere. But even those can be lost. So it just creates a battle for yourself that you're going to, an uphill climb that you're going to have to try to overcome. Because a lot of times that's going to end up costing you a lot of money just to defend it. So instead of just presenting your work, your registration, and they say, hey, look, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office said that I was good to go, you know, that puts you in a really strong footing. Whereas if you have to hire an army of attorneys, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So even if you get there to the finish line, it may not be worth it.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot, man. I was watching Law Abiding Citizen earlier today, man, preparing for this.
I don't know if you're going to say the same topic, but definitely.
He's just trying to get in the right headspace.
I was going to say, I guess it's a circle back because, like I said, we talk about this a lot on the podcast. Just what we were just saying, and that is so for people who like to do, say, like fan fiction and things like that. And I always say that big companies like Disney, they have a love-hate relationship with fan fiction because you're basically ripping their characters off and presenting them as your own. But they know it's huge engagement for them. So they don't come after people for fan fiction, but if you try to make money off your fan fiction, they will come for you. That's like if you start making a lot of money writing Mickey Mouse stories, your own dystopian Mickey Mouse apocalyptic future stories. It has nothing to do with anything Disney would do, but it's their character. If it's just on a site somewhere and people are reading and they love it, they put a bunch of likes up, you're probably not going to hear anything. But if you start making money off of it, they're going to probably find out, and then they're going to come for you, and you're not going to really own the rights to that work because you're using one of their characters that they have copyrighted.
Yeah, and Disney, I'm glad that you brought up Disney too, because they're in a unique situation because there's sort of a two-pronged problem that they have to calculate. So one, there's like you mentioned, they want to create buzz. And anything that creates buzz, even if somebody makes a little bit of money, it might make them a lot more money than they might have had otherwise. And they can always build on somebody's story if it's popular enough using their own characters. But they have to be careful that things don't get used so often that they enter what's called the public domain, and then they no longer have those intellectual property protections. So they have to limit, some of the reasons they tell people to cease and desist when they do is because they want to make sure that none of the things that they've worked so hard to copyright enter into public domain, because then essentially it means that, look, this is used so widely, there's no way that we could possibly stop people from doing this. And so you no longer can use it exclusively. And at the same time, excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
But at the same time, a lot of Disney stories, for example, The Little Mermaid, that's not a Disney original. Those stories are hundreds of years old, but it's Disney's rendition of the story. So the writing of the script, the particular characters, how they're presented, the music that they put into it, all that stuff has different levels of copyright, trademarks, whatever the case may be, that they put into that story. So you can go about and you can actually find generic Little Mermaid stories. They're terrible, but you can find them. And Disney can't do anything about it. What you can do is go out and write your own Little Mermaid story and put Ariel as the same name, the exact way that Disney represents her. That you can't do. So they're sort of balancing all those things because they realize so many of the stories, Mickey Mouse is an exception. They own that's a pure Walt Disney original. But so many of their stories are they're renditions of stories that have been around for hundreds of years.
But isn't the exactly, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe the next decade or so, isn't the Mickey Mouse character supposed to enter the public domain or something?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, it could. So there are time limits on when things are protected by either patent, copyright, trademark, etc. The general rule for any works made after 1978 by an individual, they last for the lifetime of the individual plus 70 years. And if it's for a company, it's either 95 years from date of published work, because a company can live longer than most humans, or from 120 years from the date of first creation. And all it really means is that, look, we have to set time limits on this. You can have run of the mill as long as is reasonable, but after a while, we've got to let these things expire. So it doesn't last forever. And the reason I brought up 1978 is because things that happened before that, they have a completely different calculation. There was a new law written in 1978 that changes what the lifetime of the protection is. But for everything since then, it's 70 years for an individual, 95 years for a company from date of publication, or for a company 120 years from date of creation. So that could be true given that as the backdrop for Mickey Mouse, because the clock's ticking.
And that's why for like writers and you'll see a lot of creators will do this because they'll use something familiar, but make their own story. So you see that a lot with, say, like characters from very old books like Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman,
right,
and all of that. Anybody can use those characters at this point. Even though somebody initially came up with the character themselves, and it's so long ago, it's officially like in the public domain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Dracula is a really good example. Like, if you've ever seen it, the more popular one, I guess, in the 90s was the Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yeah. Or Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. That's why they build them that way. Because anybody can write Frankenstein and Dracula stories. But those specific works by those specific people, those are the ones that still have some form of protection over the work as a whole, but not the characters specifically.
So you said some form of protection. Like, is there like an entity who owns Shelley's Frankenstein and Stoker, like Bram Stoker's Dracula? Like, is there like a singular company who still might hold the rights to those? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I don't know who they are offhand, but my educated guess would be the publishing companies have the rights over the books and the stories associated with it. And when they're adapted to movies, the screenplays are their own set of creative works, but you have to have a license to write that derivation. And they usually don't sell the work outright. They just sell you a license to use it. And maybe they'll split royalties, or they say, you can have this for 25 years, but you got to pay this fee every year, either a set amount or, a percentage of the gross for this period. And then when that period's over, we either write a new deal or this goes away and you've got to stop releasing the work, or some variation thereof.
Okay. Because I see, like, and just to switch it real quick, I see a lot of artists, like, selling their music, like the publishing and everything, like a lot of them now. And I'm just guessing because they're getting older and they just want that bulk of the money opposed to fighting their whole, like, career to try to get the most of it. Who was it, like Willie Nelson just sold his? I know Lil Wayne. And so, you know, part of whoever else he owns, I heard he owns a few things of Drake and stuff. So, you know, I'm seeing a lot of music icons who are older into their careers still in their works. At least they're publishing for a big little payday.
Yeah. And most of the time, it's actually relatively rare. It's more common than it used to be, but relatively rare for the artists themselves to own the rights to distribute their music. It's usually, you know, the production companies that do it. Or then you get in these weird scenarios like where when Michael Jackson died, he actually owned the Beatles collection. He bought it from the companies. Paul McCartney actually didn't have any rights to any of the Beatles music.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that? He would play the music live. He could get away with playing it live, but he couldn't put it on a record. Now, I think he has since bought it from the estate of Michael Jackson, but yeah, that's one example of a really weird scenario.
Right. So I think that's basically, I guess, about it. But I just want to touch a little bit on trademark real quick because I know I just mentioned it briefly, but basically, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, or if I sound off. But just to clarify for people listening, the trademark is basically going to be whatever logos or even if you have like a catchphrase or something like that, those would be in the trademark category and they would not be in the copyright category. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. Trademark or service mark. And sometimes they overlap, but yeah. But it's like, I think it was last year, Ohio State University tried to trademark V.
yeah, I remember that. Wow.
Like that didn't work.
That's like when Trump tried to trademark fire.
Yeah.
Right.
And that didn't work either because they're determined to be so widely used that it's public domain and there's no way you can trademark. But yeah, you can come up with sometimes the word itself. Like one thing Ohio State could do is they may not be able to trademark the word "the," but they can trademark some sort of presentation of the word that interlopes with either the school logo or color scheme or something like that, so they can still sell merchandise and make a lot of money off of it. You know, so we're not all paying checks every time we write a sentence to the Ohio State University. But does that answer your question, Madison?
Oh yeah, that definitely answers the question. I just wanted to make sure that it was kind of more clear for people versus like what your written works, what category that falls in versus like your logos. And because every comic book, if you don't have a logo, you should probably have one on your comic book. So I would tell people don't publish your book without a logo because that's going to be one of the ways people remember you, and it's good for branding. So definitely do that. But that logo is not going to fall under copyright. That's going to fall under trademark. And you probably want to get that trademark too, because if you don't and somebody likes your design and they submit it, then you might have a more uphill battle. Again, like we said, just being the first one to do it, to register something is probably going to be the person that's going to have a less of a fight for a claim.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. They'll have the upper hand.
Right.
For everybody who's in here, if you guys have particular questions, you can always, I do have connections who do this kind of thing on a regular basis, colleagues / friends who are members of the patent bar. So anyone who's here can get in contact with me and I can get you in touch with the right people. And if your listeners contact you, you can funnel them through me as well to get in contact with the right people for any issues they may be having.
That's really generous.
Definitely. Will do. Any other questions you guys got, Ray and Newman, that you might want to ask or anything to add?
I think I'm good on my end.
Cool.
Hey, Madison, can I ask you a question specifically about The Mandalorian?
Certainly. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a point of personal privilege, and I thank everybody for bearing with me. So Madison and my wife have the same interest in a lot of stories that are on TV, whether it's anime or Madison, I listened to your last podcast, and you said that you liked The Mandalorian, even though you're not a big Star Wars fan. So would you recommend that she watch it?
Yeah. Does she like Westerns? I guess that would be the question. If she does not like Westerns, I wouldn't recommend it, because it's basically that's what it is, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure about that, but I'll let her know. But that's why I wanted to ask. So I thank you guys for indulging me, and thanks for having me today. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for spending your time with us.
Yeah, no problem. All right, you guys be good. I'm gonna hop off here.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, son. Take care. Yep.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
If y'all want to tell people where they can find you, or if you got any shout outs, y'all want to go ahead and do that.
Go ahead. On Instagram, there's an artist called Patient Stain. I just started following him a few weeks ago. He has a really cool style. Definitely more like Soul Eater type artwork. And I'm actually reading Soul Eater right now, so it's nice to see. I don't know that if he has an actual comic or anything yet, but his personal works are really good, and I believe he has commissions open as well as a shop. His real name is Xavier Summers, and his Instagram is Patient Stain, PATIENTSTAIN. Give him a view.
I'm gonna just shout out. Honestly, I'm gonna just shout out Killer Mike, man. I've just been on his stuff, and like he's got that new black banking app, Greenwood. So I think it's like Venmo. So I just hope people check it out. Help build his business. I know he's out there fighting for us, man. So like Killer Mike on Instagram and all those little things, man. That's my dude, man. I've been on what he's doing a lot. So that's my shout out.
Cool. And my shout out is going to be Tony, who joined us today to talk a little bit about trademark, copyrights, and patents. He's an attorney at Edmond and Baum. So if you need some legal work, look him up. It's Edmond and Baum in West Virginia. But yeah, that's my shout out. Ray, you want to tell people where they can find you at before we get off here?
Yeah. Again, guys, my name is Raymond Youngblood, aka Ray's Arts. You can find me on Instagram at Rays_Arts, RAIZ_ARTS. You can find me on Fiverr.com/Rays_Arts. And I have a Patreon as well, and that's just Rays Arts, all one word. You can support me for as little as $1 on there.
Give him the buck. Yeah, you can find me basically only on Instagram right now. And that, what do you call it, a tag or something? Whatever find me at. I'm old, so I'm learning all this stuff. At C Newman 216. Again, just on Instagram right now at C Newman 216. Mr. Madison.
And I'm Madison. I'm a Golden Tree Publishing. You can catch us at GoldenTreePublishing.com. It's Golden Tree Publishing on Facebook and Instagram, and it's you can catch this podcast Golden Tree TV on YouTube. But until next time, peace.